I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Welcome to the Unidentified Celebrity Review. It's good to see you all there in the live chat. See Matthew Riot and Zero Cool hanging out a little bit before the show. Great to see you as well, April and Haley. It's getting to be good squidding weather out here. I might have to make it to the docks later. But first, we got a great show lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. But even before that, I want to share a recent astronomy breakthrough that's received a little attention. On September 3rd, a paper was published, letting us know there's a mysterious signal being emitted from the center of the galaxy. It appears and disappears at seemingly random periods. It's highly polarized and highly specific in its frequency. Natural objects tend to emit light in a wide spectrum. Even what we call radio galaxies emit visible, infrared, and other light frequencies. Not so for this signal coming from the galactic center. Recently, there have been other mysterious objects that only emit radio frequencies. Natural explanations for those odd radio circles remain elusive as well. But this one seems even more interesting. If you were trying to send a message to the entire galaxy, placing it near the center would seem an obvious choice. Now, of course, there are also supermassive black holes, at least one of them here at the center of the galaxy. So there's lots of natural unknowns surrounding this as well. Now, that's why the wonderful person who introduced me to this September 3rd paper describing the signal is pretty sure it's not aliens, but neither he nor the paper's authors can rule it out entirely. Check out Anton Petrov's YouTube channel for more, and subscribe to my channel for further analysis down the line as well. But now, let's get on with today's show. Let's bring in the wonderful person and host of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Luis Jimenez.
Yo,
Hey, Luis.
What's up, brother? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Yourself?
Not too shabby, hanging in there. We'll get to Mike in a second, but before we do that, hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. My name's Luis Jimenez. That is my co-host, Rather Be Squidding. Normally, you'd see a third co-host here named Michael Mataluni, but he's off. He's off till Thursday until he does Singularity Lab. And I think we talked this morning. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the schedule for Mike, Thursdays and Fridays. Mike's got a lot of stuff going on, and this show is like bottom on the list as far as need to get done. And plus, it doesn't pay his bills. So he's got to fulfill the client's needs first, his family's needs first, then clients, then the show. So because of that, totally understandable. Totally understandable. So Monday, so you're going to be getting Singularity Lab on Thursdays now, once a week, and we're still staying the same Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We might do something for Tuesday. We'll see. We're playing around with some ideas. We literally just started talking about this, so hopefully something will happen after our break, which, by the way, we're going on a week-long vacation, rather. Take off the whole, not next week. Next week, right? Yeah. Take off all of next week, dude, because you're already gone 2 days next week, right?
Yeah, I might have jumped the gun on that, but yeah. Nice break. Hopefully,
a nice break.
Not too much happens, but hopefully there's a lot.
Yeah, I'm hoping nothing. Well, look, if something crazy breaks, we'll be here. We'll do it. I'll be here. I'll do a show. Worst case scenario, I'm sure I can find some other friends to come join us. So that's what's cool about the channels. We built this cool family that we could rely upon. When one of us go out or needs to do something, we call our friends, and then they fill in the shoes of people who are here or are here but can't be here right this second. So the show's about to get it's pretty diverse. So buckle up. It's It's going to be fun. Before we get started with the show, I just want to give you that. Also, I want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the tunes you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. I want to say thank you to Rather. I want to say thank you to all of you out there with the Super Chats, the Patreons. Thank you all so damn much. If you want to consider joining our Patreon, check out the link below. For $1 a month, you can support the show. For up to $500,000 a month, you can enjoy the show or support the show. Either way, you get the same show as the guy that pays nothing. I know you might be going, well, I don't get it. It's for everyone. The show's for everyone. You know, if you want to be a patron, it's because you love us tremendously. So thank you all out there. Also, we add your name to the calendar. I don't know if you guys noticed the weekly calendar, but it's got all of our Patreon names on there. So if you'd like your name on there, consider our Patreon. All right. So with all of that out of the way, we've got a really, really cool guest today. Oh, also check out the iTunes and Spotify. We're a podcast too. So rate and review the podcast. That would be awesome of you guys. So today's guest is Jess Rogge. Rogge, right? Okay, she's nodding yes in the background. I always am hesitant to pronounce her last name, but now that she's here, now that we're talking to her, Jess Rogge, who grew up in Southern California in a home where to talk UFOs was a commonplace. After getting a degree in broadcast journalism and television, she realized that mainstream news was not the right fit for her truth-seeking style reporting. So instead, she focuses on subjects relating to the paranormal and conspiratorial for the Rogge Report on YouTube, and also a featured news reporter on Fringe FM. Please welcome to the show, Jess Rogge. How you doing, my lady?
Hey, thanks for having me, Louise. Hi, Rather Be. I'm so excited to be here. I've been nervous all morning. Can you believe it?
Really?
Yes.
What makes you nervous about Rather?
Well, both of you.
Ain't no reason to be nervous, girl. You were great during the big phone home. I loved your presence, and I'm so happy that Jane is a friend of yours, and now now hopefully we'll be friends from here on.
Now we're friends.
Exactly. Gosh, where do we start with Jess Rogge? So I've listened to a couple of your shows. I haven't been able to do a deep dive on the program, but the one thing I noticed is how professional you are. How you can tell that you graduated and studied broadcasting. It's so apparent. So that's what I think I really love about your show. It's something we strive for here. I'm not a professional broadcaster. I'm just an actor who's got a whole bunch of improv experience, and now I've got a microphone. So boom, show. But when I listen to you, I'm always just like, damn, this is so clean. It's so pro, and I love it. So let's start, I guess, at the beginning. Your parents, because in your bio, it's like, this was a commonplace at home, this discussion. So why was this a commonplace at home? Like, where did this start, this fascination with the family?
It was just normal. So growing up, it was like, oh, there's ghosts, there's UFOs, there's possibly aliens.
May I ask you something personal?
Sure.
What is your heritage?
I am half Vietnamese and half American.
Half American. Okay.
I was
gonna guess parts. There was some Spanish or Mexican in there somewhere because you're in Southern California. So I was just assuming. So I'm glad I asked before I just assumed that. But man, okay, that's weird. A Vietnamese and American mix here. So that's not the kind of household I'm assuming this would come from. Like, I'm in a Spanish household. Like, my grandma would talk about Santeria and this and that all the time. So it was kind of sprinkled in there, but it wasn't a heavy discussion. So was this because either one of your parents had an experience when they were younger or through their life, or this was just something they were into?
My mom has had experiences. So it was just kind of normal. And even like when, we'd sit and we'd watch things together, back in like the 90s when they had alien autopsy, we all sat around and watched that, and when Ancient Aliens came out, it was family night to watch Ancient Aliens, and it was always a discussion. Yeah.
Okay. So, man, I just love the idea. I remember that Alien Autopsy premiering on Fox. It was a big deal. This is more of, I think, 90.
God, it was
6 or something like that. It was right around where where you first got like an AOL account, and the internet every time you logged on made a funny noise. That's when this thing came out. So it was like a must-see TV. It's like you had to be at your house at this time to watch it. And I do remember that being a big deal. So that was just a normal occurrence. So you've never asked your parents, like, why were we talking about this? What was going on here?
I think they were just very open to it. So it was, I'd be like, Dad, is that real? He's like, I don't know, but it's fun to watch and try to figure it out. We watched X-Files. I think too, because we're kind of a big sci-fi family. So,
got it.
So talking about these similar, kind of things in reality was just kind of normal.
I love it. I
mean, were you a religious family growing up?
No.
I think that's what a lot of parents, I think, are religious and will throw the kibosh on those types of theories because it doesn't conform to their preconceptions, right? It's kind of cool to grow up with your experiences, I imagine.
Yeah, so that's why I think I'm a little bit different because my mom is Buddhist, but we weren't really super raised with all the doctrine. It was like, okay, when these events happen, you light the incense, you bow, you eat, we go to temple like once a year on Lunar New Year, and then my dad didn't really like church. Sorry, Dad, it's the truth. So he never made us go.
Well, even people who go to church, do they really like it? I feel like people do it mostly out of just like guilt, because that's what the church does. I mean, I was raised Catholic. The church just guilts you into, you need to be here every Sunday. Every Sunday you need to be here. And if you're not, if you can't give 1 hour to God every week, then what is your life? Like stuff like that, where you're like, man, that's guilt. Like it just drenches off of you. Okay. So when did you decide that, obviously this is something that you grew up with, but then when did you, I guess out of high school, did you know you wanted to be a broadcaster or a journalist? And what was your first move into that arena?
I guess I kind of tell my backstory. I guess not a lot of people know. I was a troublemaker in high school.
Fair enough.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mom said, hey, Jess, there's this great broadcast journalism program. You can try it out and see if you like it. She's like, I think you'd be good. Just the way you like to research. You love to talk, So I said, what the hey? So I went and I tried it out. I worked on a community college news station for a few years and kind of got my experience. And then I transferred over to university and finished a 4-year degree in broadcast journalism. And then after that, I kind of felt like, it's not for me. So I kind of stepped away, took a break, did some other things. And then I noticed podcasting was becoming a thing.
Yeah. So did you try to apply to different stations? And it was like, did you get into those stations and realize once you got in there, oh, this what I want to talk about is not going to be accepted here kind of thing?
Exactly. So what I did was I went over to, I don't know if you guys remember when G4 was a network. Yeah. So I interned there kind of, because I was like, okay, video game journalism, that's something I can kind of get behind. Right. And then, by the time I got out of school, the stage, the channel had been acquired and taken over. Everybody I knew there was gone. It was turned into this corporate-y thing. And I was like, this isn't where I want to be either.
Oh, by the way, my girlfriend says Jess is such a professional. Love her.
Oh, thank you.
Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, so then you see this podcast thing coming, and then you, like a lot of folks are like, I could get a microphone, and but you've got the degree behind it. So when did you start the Rogge Report, and what is sort of the main thesis of the show? Like what are your favorite things to cover?
Okay, let's take it back. So I guess I really kind of dove into podcasting in 2016. I joined to produce a podcast for a radio host, and so I did a lot of research and a lot of guest coordination for that show. And I said, you know what, I could do that. Yeah. So then I popped out with my first show, which was Multiverse Maidens. And I did that for a little while. Then I hopped on and created it. Thank you, right? I feel so bad.
Maidens. Oh, man. God, that's such a great
There's
name.
a universe out there where you didn't let it go somewhere, right?
Yeah. Such a good name. I still hate myself for letting that one go. And then I did a couple other shows. Like I did a show called Discussing Disclosure, Strange Tales Weekly, of course, the Weird Hollywood Show with UFO Jane, and there might be another one. But as I was moving forward, I was like, I need to brand something that's more me, you know.
Yeah.
So going from Multiverse Maidens, I rebranded the show probably 2 years ago. And ever since then, you know, it's this new show where I cover current events, conspiracies, geopolitics, UAPs. I like to look into futurism, defense stuff, things like that. And of course, like the strange and the unrevealed.
Mm. Excellent. I love it. Rather, you got any questions, buddy?
Oh, well,
I feel like I'm taking them all.
I'd love to know if you've had any paranormal or UFO experiences yourself.
Great question.
I wish, and I always tell people this, I wish I had some compelling, super exciting experience, but I've had a paranormal experience where I've seen like a bag move.
Right.
Or heard a noise.
Right, right.
Nothing like crazy. And then I'd say the same thing for UFOs. I've seen orbs in the sky, lights in the sky, but I've never, I'd love to see a craft. I'd really love to see a craft one day.
Yeah. Well, what do you, I guess then what is it a belief system for you then? Or is it more of like, I've just based off of the information I'm looking at, there's a good chance that this is there. I mean, because that's sort of the thing that I fight myself all the time being an experiencer is, well, how do I drop the belief system? Because when you have a belief system with anything, it's dangerous because you sometimes aren't open to new information. So I'm curious, like, where are you on that spectrum?
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I've been around this community for a few years and shoot, now I totally lost it.
No, that's okay. No, don't sweat it. I'll ask you again. So it's like this idea of like, you know, believer versus, you know, being as grounded as possible.
I think I'm striving to be as grounded as possible. When I first embarked on this whole study and coming out publicly and talking about it, you know, I was really into like kind of the spiritual side, the woo side of things. Mm-hmm. But, you know, as you're in something long enough, I think you start to see, you know, different aspects of it. And now the person I am now, it's like I'm looking at things from a skeptical point of view. I'm no longer looking for things that just support the belief.
Your belief, right?
Yes.
No, that's hard to do. And I think I was like that for a long time myself. Rather, have you ever had that issue with this topic, or have you always been just a hard ass Mick West kind of guy?
No, I mean,
I love the. Well, go ahead. Rather answer the. I love when he struggles with a question.
I think I'm kind of on the same spot as Jess. You know, I'm open to things, but you know, I do kind of come at things with a I usually tend to disbelieve things, but keep an open mind and kind of want to believe and dig down to see if there is any there. And you know, there are a couple of cases where, you know, like the Nimitz incident, where it seems like there probably is a there, right?
Yeah, definitely. Jess, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you, even when the Nimitz, when that came out in 2017, probably a few months before that, I was like, I'm going to quit UFOs. I'm tired of them. Nothing new happens. And then all the Nimitz stuff came. And then I was like, all right, I'm back in. And so seeing, I guess, looking at something before where we're looking at, you know, tales and folklore and old historical stories, and then we're seeing real movement and current events happening with the topic now, which is very exciting.
Yeah. No, it totally is. Bottled water with a $10 donation. Which, I love this guy's name. We're gonna have him on the show eventually. He's a funny dude, but he's former military guy, so it's gonna be very interesting to talk to him. But he says, "Trust me, Jess, it's better not seeing it."
Well, then maybe I'm good. Maybe I'm blessed.
But see, I would tell you, my sighting was awesome. Like, I loved every second of it. I wish I could go back in time and see it again. I did not have a negative experience, but then again, I don't remember it being like a conscious connection. It was just very physical. It was like, oh, this thing is flying in front of us. And it was, you know, when the parents in the situation are going, what the hell is that? That's when you're like, oh, okay, this is special. And it's cool. I mean, I don't have that fear of it. Unless I'm like alone in the dark and I'm thinking of like Whitley Strieber's story or something. That's when I get like the heebie-jeebies, you know. I'm like walking to the bathroom late at night and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to. Right now would be the worst time to see something like big-eyed mantis looking. I'd never want to see anything like that. But I'd kill to see that craft again. God, I would kill to see the craft again. Damn. Okay, so then what do mom and dad think of the show then?
I think they've gotten bored of it. Honestly,
they got bored of your show?
Bored of it. They don't listen in much anymore. They did watch when I appeared on the Big Phone Home 2, and they loved that. But
good. Well, I'm glad they watched my show.
Do they still watch Ancient Aliens?
They do still watch Ancient Aliens. And then when I say, well, Dad, I don't really talk about Ancient Aliens anymore, he's like, why not?
And why don't you talk about Ancient Aliens anymore?
I think just now I'm just really into like all these military sightings and the development of what's going on in the government. Like, it's fun to talk about, but I think my focus is more news based.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you got,
So you say you're kind of less paranormal than before?
Yes, I think it's just a process of growing. It's not that I don't still have the knowledge, but it's not something that I tend to focus on anymore.
How do you make sense of things like Skinwalker Ranch, which really seem to blur the line between that paranormal and ufology?
Yeah, I am very interested with Skinwalker Ranch. I wonder if it has to do with, the minerals there, any nuclear fallout, that radiation that might still be in the area, portals, or this is just an ancient land that just has these energies on them.
What are your theories on, what do you think we're dealing with here? Do you think it's one thing, or do you think we're dealing with multiple things when it comes to the UAP topic?
The scarier answer to that, where I think we're dealing with multiple things.
What would be like your favorite of the multiples?
I think probably Interdimensional. I think that's kind of my favorite.
Okay. So this idea that they're kind of in front of us, we just don't have the filters to see them.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes perhaps those things we see are passing through and they're hitting our vibration. Just my theory, guys. I have no idea.
No, of course.
Else.
It's always fun to speculate. Yeah.
So maybe they're just passing through portals. Maybe there's a vibration change, and then we see them in the sky as they're passing. It's hard to say, but a lot of people are leaning towards this kind of interdimensional, ultra-terrestrial thing. I was watching a video with Tom DeLonge the other day.
Yeah,
I think it just came out last week, and it was on Mashable, and he was saying, interdimensional.
Yeah, no, he's been making the rounds on a couple of podcasts, and it's flying under the radar a little bit. And I thought they've been brilliant interviews. I really have enjoyed them. And I'm curious to know, what were your anything that stands out as far as things that he said in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
I think the interesting thing was the interdimensional thing.
Yeah,
to think that there are these objects or these beings that can cross into our reality or into our vibration that we can see is kind of nuts. I know for a long time it's really been a lot about, the extraterrestrial hypothesis, but I think we should be more open, and we should look here too. We can't just look out there. We got to look here too. And there's the whole theory too that there's a civilization perhaps under the ocean.
Matthew Wright, hold on, boys. It was pretty funny. He goes, Tom says ... a ... lot. Brilliant ? Really ? The village idiot ? I mean, damn, that's pretty hardcore, Matthew.
You can't say someone who wrote the songs that he did an idiot, right? He's at least a musical genius.
He's at least a musical genius.
That might be
socially,
but I got a soft spot for
him. I do have a soft spot as well. But one of the things I also did notice from his interview, he was interviewing with a guy in Australia. We actually played part of it here. Was it Neil Griffith's show? Rather,
something.
I think it was Neil Griffiths. Something Griffiths. And the plug with Neil Griffiths. Anyway, he was saying if anybody he thought, because of 2021, everybody's very, very sensitive nowadays. And he's like, dude, I thought for sure people would have dug in my past and started playing things that I've said that are borderline really just terrible. But he's like, when I was growing up as a kid, we were around racists. We were around punk rockers. We did bad things. We broke the law all the time. We were just punks. And I was like, yeah, that's excusable. I can understand a poorly educated white kid running around, who's a genius with a guitar and lyrics, but just socially unaware of what's happening around him. Yeah, I could give you a pass. Like you're a kid. Like I don't understand why people dig in people's past to show them something they said as a young adult. Because God, thank God, like Facebook and Twitter wasn't around when I was a real maniac. And yeah, I mean, dude. Well, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But what were you going to say, rather?
I mean, yeah, kind of digging into the interdimensional theory. That's always been I love that theory because it can explain literally everything from the paranormal to the UFOlogy. But the converse of that is that it might literally be unprovable, right? Like if that theory is correct, we might never be able to have that evidence that we can show to a skeptic that can prove it to them, and then it might end up being almost like a religion kind of thing. Wonder what your thoughts are on that kind of possibility, and would that be disappointing? Or
I don't know if it would be disappointing, but I also think it would be. I think it's part of the phenomenon, right? And if we talk about the phenomenon, we talk about if we talk about everything under the umbrella of paranormal, we talk about, experiences with ghosts, perhaps seeing cryptids, things like that. If it's all explainable by this dimensional thing, maybe Bigfoot lives in another dimension and we only see him when he pops out for a second, But I think it would be dangerous for it to become like some sort of religious thing. Yeah, we're trying to avoid that at all costs. Did you have a follow-up? Rather, look like you did.
Well, yeah, no, I love the interdimensional Bigfoot theories. That always makes me smile.
What makes you what do you love about the interdimensional Bigfoot theory? Rather,
well, I mean, yeah, I grew up thinking Bigfoot was a potential monster, living in the woods, like a relative of the apes, and then I read the Skinwalker tales telling us that it's actually a interdimensional being that has mystical powers that comes out of portals. And
well, there is like this.
Seems like it really goes off a left turn when you start to hear that. But
I mean, yeah, I don't know what it's been, why it's been like this lately, and maybe because some data points to this, but I don't know if I've seen that data, enough conclusive data. But this idea that when there's a Bigfoot sighting, there's either a UFO sighting coming or has just happened. And how they're interlinked. Jess, you're shaking your head. Yes. What do you got?
I have interviewed quite a few people, and just having them on the show. And sometimes I said, "Have you seen a UFO?" And a lot of the time, alien girl,
Amy's the best.
Amy. Yeah, a lot of people. More than one person I've spoken to has gone out on a Bigfoot investigation or a Bigfoot hunt looking for Bigfoot, and have had a UFO experience instead. Never saw Bigfoot, but they've had a UFO experience.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone out on expeditions like that, or would you?
I went on a local expedition that was supposed to be a ghost hunt, but the guy was like way into Bigfoot. And so he kind of tried to turn it into a Bigfoot hunt. So it was kind of like that. He showed me this casting that he had that you couldn't really tell what it was. Yeah. And he took us over to, I guess, there were like probably power poles, and he just starts banging on them and playing Bigfoot calls. And we sat there and nothing happened. But so I was kind of on a Bigfoot hunt. One never showed up.
I kind of, and I think part of me is just being very flippant and naive to this. But when I hear Bigfoot, I'm like, come on, man. Come on. I don't want to hear about Bigfoot right now. Like, I've got so many other things to worry about. We're going to throw Bigfoot into the equation when it comes to UAP. Like, I wonder how many pilots have seen Bigfoot after seeing UAP.
Ah, that's a good one.
That's a question, right? Like, I haven't heard of many. Like, I mean, if it was going to happen anywhere, it would have been Rendlesham Forest. Why don't we hear about Bigfoot in Rendlesham?
Can you bet?
What did you say, rather?
I was going to say, could you imagine you're flying your jet and you turn around to your empty cockpit, your co-pilot's seat, and you see an interdimensional Bigfoot manifest right
just
there?
Like waves.
Yeah, I just picture this is actually a movie that still holds up. Harry and the Hendersons.
I love Harry and the Hendersons.
it's still a pretty damn good flick. I think the special effects were done by Rick Baker, so they're really, really good. They still hold up. Check it out, Harry and the Hendersons. It's a fun flick. John Lithgow, he's an awesome actor. But let me ask you this, Jess: what is your favorite case that you've talked about on the show, or one that you've researched and you're like, damn, this one is just too good, and you could just go back to almost like an episode of X-Files or something. You got to stop every time you hear about it.
Yeah. Let me bring it back. A lot of these cases are compelling, but for me, I always tell this story because I think it relates to, the Nimitz stuff is, one of my guests was Omar Laura, and, we met through Twitter because I had posted about meeting a vet from Korean War who told me he had seen UFOs while he was on the ocean back in the day. So I tweeted about that, and then I met Omar Laura online, and we started to get to talking.
Omar was supposed to be on the phone home. He couldn't make it on the last minute, which was a bummer.
Oh, he's so great.
But I got to talk to him. Yeah, please tell me about Omar, because I want to learn more about him.
Because, so Omar reached out to me, and he really hadn't, he'd been on the documentary, and it's escaping the name of it is escaping me right now.
Okay, well, let me see if I can find it.
Is it David Beatty's?
Dave Beatty's? Well, he is a friend with Dave Beatty's, so...
Yeah, so it might be related to that. I wish my brain is just doing a fart right now, so I'm so sorry, guys.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, so I was able to bring Omar on, and what's interesting about Omar, this is before Omar was unidentified, before any of that, when he was really not even that comfortable coming out and telling the story. But, he talks about being on the Nimitz, and, he's on the deck of the Nimitz, and he sees, this light just like hovering, and it just shoots up into the sky, and multiple, other service people were on deck with him. A lot of people witnessed it. And I believe this happened just a few days, within the time period of, the Tic Tac sightings. So to me, what's so compelling about that story is it adds another piece to the puzzle.
Right.
And so it's not, and I say this about a lot of things, it doesn't have to be this super exciting story, super out of the norm, but these stories that tie together to other incidents that, bring more evidence to the final story. And I think to me, that's very interesting. And talking to somebody like him, who was just a normal dude, he's a normal dude from SoCal, he went into the Navy and he had an extraordinary experience. And it changed his life. And for many years, he kind of was hiding about it. And then he came out on unidentified. Now everybody knows.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that seems to be like the norm. Like something happens, nobody says anything, and then it cracks in a news story, and all of a sudden 15 people come out. We're like, yeah, I was there. And the only reason why I'm talking about it is because you guys started talking about it. So it sort of gives them permission, which is, like... for me, why we need to start standardizing these things and encouraging pilots to talk about this so we can get more corroborating data. Even if it's only eyewitness testimony, I think it still adds a lot. What do you got, Rather?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands of crew members and, military personnel that have these stories that are too scared to say or don't want to say for whatever reason.
Yeah, and Omar tells a story of this gentleman who was on deck with him, and immediately after he finds him below deck, and he's like crouched on the ground, and he's praying, because to that man that was something that was it hit him in a religious sense. To some people, they were like, "Oh crap," and it's just these different things. But there were multiple people that saw it, and I know he's been working on trying to get a few more people to come out and talk about it, but not yet.
Not yet.
How often do you get people trying to contact you and tell their story? Was that kind of a unusual encounter with Omar, or?
It happens from time to time, but like somebody like Omar, we've become friends. We've been talking for years, but I do get people who reach out and they want to share their story, and I'm more than happy to listen. I offer, a non-judgmental ear, I don't come out and tell these stories on air. A lot of the people I talk to, it remains private.
Sure.
Real quick, because some people are asking, where's Michael? It's a great question. Where is Michael? No, we know where Michael is. Michael's at home working. So new schedule for Michael starting this week is he's going to be on the shows Thursdays for Singularity Lab and Friday for the Unidentified Celebrity Review, and taking Monday through Wednesday off. He's moving. He's going through a whole bunch of changes personally, and he's got a ton of just work. He's got a whole bunch of clients that are relying on him. And Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, if I can give him those days off and free those days up for him to do more work and be here Thursday and Friday, awesome, man. Mike works his ass off, so you know he's put in the blood to the show. So if he asks for requests, I am gonna move mountains to make it happen. So don't miss Michael. It just means you get more of this.
Woo!
Who doesn't want more of that? Right? Like, who doesn't want more rather? And by the way, somebody was like, who was a UFO Blueprint, who's the consummate chops buster around here, said, good to see that Rather didn't blow himself up with that homemade microwave he was working on.
The cloud chamber, and the video should be released probably tonight, so stay tuned.
Oh, excellent. All right, Jess. So then let's get back to you. So I guess what's next for the Rogge Report? Like, what are the plans on the horizon? What do you think's going to happen with quote unquote disclosure? Do you think we're gonna see it here in the next 1 to 5 years? Do you see the winds, political winds, changing in that direction? Like, are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic about the future?
I'd like to be optimistic about the future, because like I said, I've been sitting around this community, keeping an eye on things, for years, and seeing the shift from, more folklore-y and type stories to going to, these real stories with data, and then the government, setting up the UAP office. It's finally being taken seriously. And I think a lot of people who have been around the community for a long time say things like, well, it doesn't matter. We don't trust the government. And, to them, I say, I felt like that too. And I had to take a step back and look at this from like a bigger view, as a normal person, and say like, well, what are the implications of this to society and the world really? And it's really actually huge. Because we're going to have so much more data about this than we've ever had, right? We have the technology. Now we're going to have it so people in the military can report these things in a standardized way that can be measured. We're not talking about, like, oh, I saw a UFO in my backyard at like 6 o'clock. I think it was going west. These are going to be a lot more accurate. And I'm really excited to see that.
Definitely. What do you got, Rather?
Yeah, well, you've been in this since 2016, you said, so kind of before the whole flowing up of the 2017 New York Times article. I'm kind of curious from your perspective, has the excitement continued to grow since then? Do you think it's, dipped off, or kind of where do you see the whole kind of UFOlogy going since 2017?
I've seen it just kind of go, whoop, just keep going up right now. And it seems to just keep going up right now, with the growth and the explosion of UFO Twitter, and all these new shows like UCR, where you're bringing people together to talk about these topics. I see this great, beautiful movement within the community. And I said this, I think, on Amy's show the other day. It's not about, one person anymore. It's about this collaborative effort. And I'm just so happy to see it and be a part of this time in UFOs. And I hope that the momentum can stay up, because I think more and more people are like, hey, I guess this is real. And it's not weird. And it's not all paranormal, and it's not strange. This is some real beep happening right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
It can be easy to miss when you're so entrenched in it, and like, UFO Twitter doesn't see the daily progress. But if you look at it from a, month to year perspective, I agree. There's been a lot of progress being made.
Well, if you see, like the best thing I can think of is kind of like a cryptocurrency, like one of my, like, I think I got Dogecoin, right? I bought a whole bunch of it in January, and it was worth 0.0021 cents or something like that. And now it's worth like 50 cents or something. So It's gone up significantly, but if you only look at this month's window, it looks like the stock is just going down. But if you look at it for the whole year, you see, oh, dude, this stock is doing nothing but going up, even though it had a peak and it came down, but it rises again. And I think this is sort of the same thing with the topic. I mean, like these last few days have been a real high. Like I think this is some of the biggest information to drop for the topic. Ooh, right. I mean, is it safe to say since 2017, rather? Can I say that? I mean, I know we didn't get videos and footage, but I mean, this is like, this is law that is being talked about right now.
Yeah, definitely the biggest legislative movement we've seen maybe ever on the topic.
I mean, you've been doing shows since 2016. What do you think, Jess? Is this as significant as 2017?
I think so, because I know a lot of people were like, the UAP preliminary assessment, blah. But but we get this now, and it's setting up everything that they're going to be doing, and an official office, and we haven't had an official office looking into this phenomenon since 1969.
I mean, Blue Book, basically.
Yeah. So I said to myself, I sat there because, like we've said, when you're entrenched in the community, you don't realize the gravity of these things sometimes. So you have to take a step back. But this is actually very historical.
Yeah, well, what's hilarious is I don't think, and correct me anybody out there if I'm wrong, but it looks like the community completely missed that there was two bills out there. There was two. There was a Senate bill and there was a House resolution bill, and people thought it was just a Senate bill. Danny Silva's article hinted at a whole other bill, but everybody just missed it, thinking it was HR 4350 when really everybody was looking at S 2610. and it wasn't until this last week where we're like, oh my God, wait a second, there's two bills here. They're two completely different bills, and they're asking for way different things. And the Congress is being a lot more aggressive in what they're asking for. Real quick, let's address this $10 donation for bottled water. He's still on Bigfoot. Bigfoot is most likely an extreme rare ape species that's been around for ages and has to compete with grizzlies and humans, probably near our intelligence, but very shy.
Aww. Well, it is, before 2017, I think that putting together a UAP governmental task force would be kind of similar to, for most people, putting together a task force to hunt Bigfoot right now, right? Like the times have definitely changed.
Yeah,
and I think I agree
changed.
with Bottled Water's assessment of what Bigfoot might actually be as well.
Wait a second. Hold on a second, because I'm going to press you on this. You think there's a Bigfoot?
I think that if there is a Bigfoot, I think that it's probably just a mammal. I would probably, I don't know if I'd agree that it's near our intelligence, but near our intelligence is the same way that great apes are near our intelligence. I think that's very well could be possible.
For the first time maybe in history, UFO Blueprint and I agree. Where are the bones?
Interdimensional.
There you go. But I think that it's very common for you not to see bones of things in the forest because it scavenge and decays.
We find bones of stuff all the time. All the time. Like I just look.
Even dinosaur.
I'm not saying you're wrong, right? This is just one that is really, really difficult for me to swallow. And we've had people on the show who've seen them. So like I don't want to dismiss it, right? Just wholeheartedly. But man, you're going to have to come up with a lot better stuff than 50-year-old footage. I mean, how come we haven't gotten a stride of a Bigfoot with it? Now, see, here's where an iPhone camera would actually work.
Yes.
Like, an iPhone camera would be perfect for a Bigfoot sighting.
They're very shy, Lou. They're very shy.
Rather, they're very shy. You're hilarious. I can't believe.
I'm much less excited by the possibility of capturing a Bigfoot than any of this UAP stuff. So,
well, let me ask you this: what would it take for you to be convinced that how the tables have turned? What would it take for you to be convinced that Bigfoot is real?
Yeah, DNA
I mean, but
evidence.
you kind of think he's real already.
I think that there's I think we find stuff in the forest and nature that we've, undiscovered species all the time.
Yeah, but
Usually
they're
they're
usually like
small and
insects or
Like little
but still, we found like I think it's the platypus or like some other, somewhat medium-sized animals that we thought were extinct for ages and ages, and then we come across a living specimen of one. It's not completely unheard of.
I just figured we would have ran into one by now. As much as we log, as much as we
The
mess around in the
forests
forest.
are pretty big though. They are very big. They're vast.
No, yes, rather the forests are big. Thank you.
I think Rather needs to go on a Bigfoot expedition. Take Lou, go out to the Pacific Northwest, and
We've already got so many expeditions planned for this show. One expedition at a time, please. I feel like if anybody lives in the right area to do a Bigfoot expedition, it's 100% Rather. Let me ask you: were you born and raised in that area, Rather?
No, I'm from the Midwest originally.
Okay, how long you been living out there?
About 10 years now.
And so is that a big part of the culture and society in your neck of the woods?
I don't know if I'd say a big part, but there's some friends of mine who are avid Bigfoot hunters who go out in the woods and camp and hunt and make the calls. I haven't joined them, but it would be fun. I'd be down for that.
This is Alex Garcia makes an interesting point. He just texted me. He said, we need a Mick West for Bigfoot to set our friend Rather straight.
Just to be clear, though, I don't think that there's evidence for Bigfoot. I don't look at those videos and think that's probably a man in a suit, that classic Bigfoot footage. But
look,
I don't rule it out.
Turk Okami with a $5 donation. This is 100% fair. Okay, you guys got to study up on this subject. Lots of evidence has been found, including eDNA showing unknown chimpanzee variant in Kentucky, by the way. Okay, but here's the thing. Where are the scientific studies on this? Where are the scientific papers that have been written on Bigfoot?
So here's another maybe kind of tangentially related subject that I also might have a controversial opinion on. Now, Jess, I'd be interested to hear where you land on this, which is cattle mutilation. Do you think that that's a real phenomenon that's paranormal or alien?
Well, it happens, but I don't know about the paranormal. There's theories about, that, they could be like some weird government black object. They talk about no footprints being there. And some people, there's some theories that, these things are taken for ritualistic purposes, as well. So I hate cattle mutilations. They're my least favorite thing because I hate whenever I come across a picture of them.
Yeah, they're no fun.
They're no fun to look at.
It bothers me. It bothers me so much. Ever since I saw the Linda Moulton Howe stuff when I was a kid, I was like, just not my thing. But I mean, I know there's a lot of research been done into it, and there's also other theories that don't make it paranormal or UFO related.
Yeah, and
what things make it that don't make it paranormal or UFO related? Do you think?
Well, I mean, also, why are we running straight to the paranormal or UFOs with it? Right. That's my
that's question. A good question. I mean, and a lot of some folks on this in our chat may not like us bringing this up.
I'm sorry.
But no, don't be sorry. It's fine. The movie Mirage Men played out a very, very, very reasonable scenario where the Army is testing silent blades on helicopters with lights, LED lights on them. And in the late 60s, early 70s, that looked absolutely crazy. And they take a couple of cows, they test some new weapons on it or make it look really weird, and take some odd parts, dump the body back in the field, and boom, you got a story that covers up secret US tech for years to come. But there are those instances where the farmer turns his back for literally a minute and then he turns back around and this thing is completely fried to the ground. And it's like, well, how did that happen? I can see Rather's face. What do you got?
I'd love to see the story of that particular instance, because I don't think that there are documented stories like that. I think that's.
Well, I'm pretty sure there was in Linda Moulton Howe's film. I bought her film, Strange Harvest. And in that film, I think I'd have to go back and watch it now that you're saying it, but I'm pretty sure there were cases. I mean, there've been stuff like that on Skinwalker Ranch, where they come out, they go into the house, they come out, and there's 3 dogs fried to the ground. They're like, what the hell is this? What just happened here? You know, and they weren't just like dogs that lived outside. They were like prairie dogs. They were dogs that that actually follow the people around.
Yeah, those dogs were apparently smashed, I think, right into the ground, right? And I don't know if they've recovered any mutilated dog carcasses from that, but yeah, I think, you know, I've read there's a very interesting article from the Canadian Institute of Health, where they do a paper and they document a lot of, you know, decaying cattle. And they, you know, reading this article convinces me that we're just seeing insects and decomposition at work. Like they do the weird things. Like if you ever, there's really, you can watch nature videos of, you know, insects doing their work, and they'll do incredibly precise cuts, you know, for leaves and stuff like that. They can do incredibly weird and precise things. And when they're kind of interrupted halfway, you can see some really weird, they have some really weird pictures.
Well, I can tell you a tongue, an eyeball, and udders are the softest part of an animal, and usually the first thing that a predator would go for, whether it's an insect or a coyote or whatever. So I mean, those are the things like missing, right? Yeah, I mean, my biggest issue when I watched Linda's thing is it was first of all, it doesn't tell you, but it's actually like 3 or 4 documentaries smashed into one, because she took her original documentary and then she edited it for television like 3 or 4 times, and then made a master edit to sell on DVD of all of those edits. But this idea that at that time, to make these laser cut precisions, as she was claiming they were making, would have taken an entire room full of equipment. And they had laser surgery back at that time, but the laser was absolutely massive. But I'm thinking in my head, I'm going, well, if that's a industrial laser that they're using to make surgical cuts, our military's probably had that laser cutting technology for at least 2 decades, I'm thinking, you know, so they might have perfected that tech by the, you know, late 60s, early 70s, and gotten it way smaller, and maybe to a size where it would fit on a helicopter. And they might be able to do these things very quickly without anybody noticing. It sounds absolutely wild, but our military has done crazier things than that. Like, they've proven that. I mean, what do you think, Jess?
I think, you know, a lot of my favorite things, and this came from UFOs, is looking into military tech and defense tech, you know, because they are so far ahead of us, or the normal people, with their technology, and we only see like a bit of it. And even now, whatever they release and tell us they have, you know, they're still way ahead of that and what they're working on. So I say it's not outside the realm of possibility. For a lot of these things, I say, well, let's take a look at these probable things that are terrestrial before we also jump to the conclusions that this is magical or UFO came down. Why not look at, you know, the terrestrial possibilities first?
I mean, the thing that I found very interesting in her documentary, first of all, the style of it, I absolutely love. If you know this show, you know I really dig dirty 70s film or 80s television. The music in this show is so good. It's as good as Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of. The music on this movie is so good. The fact that she was a female in the mid 60s making a film, directing, editing, producing, starring, researching, all of it. She did all of it from soup to nuts, which was, I can't think of any other female directors at that time. I mean, later you got Penny Marshall, and you got I'm trying to think of the other female directors in the 80s. There's a couple of them, but Penny Marshall's the first one that sticks out to me. And,
yes, I love Marshall.
Linda Moulton Howe beat them by 15 years. she had her own film out and ready to go, and it won an Emmy. Like it was a really, really good documentary for the time. But as the documentary goes through the decades, those excuses don't hold up as well. Like the idea of, well, how would you bring a laser to a farm? Okay, well, maybe it wasn't like I said, an industrial laser. Maybe it was a military laser. We're not. Anytime there's evidence that's put on the table that sort of refutes it, she is very hesitant to accept it and or even really listen to it. But the thing was about the documentary that I found fascinating was all of the FBI, first of all, investigated this, which is huge. For the FBI to stop what they're doing and investigate this means that they had gotten a whole bunch of calls and a whole bunch of complaints on this, because you got to understand, if you're a farmer and you lose $40,000 or $50,000 worth of cattle, that's a big deal, and they're gonna be pissed, and they're gonna want to know who's gonna pay for it, especially when they find it half eaten in less than a day, or torn apart in weird ways, and it just doesn't look like anything that Dave Av's ranch hands have seen before. So that was the one thing that I found that was compelling. Like, she had a guy, I don't know what they call these guys, but they go out to ranches and they just haul dead bodies. That's their job. Oh. Anytime something dies on a ranch, this guy goes out there with a truck and lifts it. And like, these things can get messy, especially if they've been sitting out in the sun for a couple of days. Like, they tear apart easy, things fall apart. Yeah, it's a gross job. But he was like, I've never seen anything like this in the 15, 20 years I've been doing this messy job. I've never seen animals show up as they've been showing up these last, stretch of whatever it was, 6-7 years that this was happening. So there were some really, really compelling eyewitness things to it. But outside of that, man, I found it was just hard. But Bottled Water with a $10 donation. Thank you so much. Says, Luis, like I tweeted at you the other day, Category 3 subterranean facilities. It took me an hour and a half to find the DoD manual on it, but boy, do I have some info for you. I can't wait to hear it. It's going to be interesting. We got to set that show up, but yeah, it probably won't be for at least 2 weeks, Bottled Water. I'll just be honest with you, just because we're taking some time off next week. But we also got a $5 donation from Matthew Riot. Can we hire Jess to record audiobooks?
Yes. You can. I do voiceover work, guys. So if you want to hit me up, send me an email.
Wow. What voiceover work have you done?
I've only just started doing it. I do voiceovers for other radio stations. Yeah. I do little audio interviews for different things. I do use this voice. I try to make some money with it.
Voice.
But you have a great voice too, Louise. I've been meaning to tell you that. Your voice. Yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate it coming from you. I'll take it. Yeah. You're the pro, so I appreciate it. $5 donation.
Send me an email.
Yeah. Well, look, how about this? I would love to send you Graham Rendell's new book, and you can make an audio version of that for me. That would be great. Because I love audiobooks. I gotta sit down and read it. I haven't had a chance yet, but now that we have some time, maybe here in the next week, I'll be able to crack into it. Oliver Dro with a $5 donation. Thank you so damn much. There was at least one scientific article made on cattle mutilation. It was made on events happen at Skinwalker Ranch. We'll message at Twitter.
Please do. I'm interested. I'm with you, Jess. I don't love reading those papers due to the graphic pictures, but it is interesting.
It definitely is interesting. Pat Calabria with a $5 donation. Guys, by the way, these are two new people, Oliver and Pat. Thank you guys so much for watching the show and being, from what I could see, first-time viewers, so appreciate it. Skinwalker UFO, overhead, and the cow drops dead, I think is what he meant on the Skinwalker show. That did happen. Rather, look at your face. What do you got to say about it?
Well, is he saying that they dropped from the sky? So I did see one thing video. I wish I could. I don't think I'll be able to find this, but a cow dropped from the roof of a
Oh my
barn.
God. I know what you're talking about. That was great. Okay.
Never got any more
That's on
information about
Live
that.
Leak somewhere. I know exactly what you're talking about. Rather, try and find it. You'll find it. I think you'll find it. Just put Live Leak, cow dropping through shed, something like that. I know I actually meant to talk about that a few weeks ago because I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this. But it's absolutely nuts. But Pat's not talking about that. Pat is talking about the episode in season 1 of Skinwalker Ranch where the cow dropped dead, and then when they reviewed the footage, they saw that there was possibly a UAP over the exact location of the cow.
Yeah, it didn't convince me, but I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm always, dude. Every time I think I have you like understood, you surprise me every single time. But hey, go check out our season 1 review of Skinwalker Ranch. We reviewed both seasons. Season 2 was a lot more fun to review because we actually had the dragon drop by and help us review a couple episodes, so that was cool. Oh hey, Robert. No, this ain't the real Robert Salas. It's Robert Salas. I was gonna say Robert's in the house. By the way, Robert's gonna be on the show soon. We're hoping to have him here in the last week of this month. So stay tuned for that. So Jess, you got another half hour to stick around, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so we were going to have Jamarl Thomas join us, but Jamarl had a scheduling conflict. So the first person I asked was Zach Cichy. They're both my favorite thinkers on this topic. So I was like, let's see if Zach's available. What happened here? What are you doing?
We have the video lined up whenever you need
it. Okay, the cow video. Okay, well, let's wait for Jane and Zach to get in here. Before we bring them in, let's go ahead, of course, and play a message from our sponsor. I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAP... Oh, man, what happened? Oh, yeah. Let me do it one more time. I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support. All right, I think I know what happened. I had this window open and I hit enter thinking I was on another window and it stopped the video. Anyway, all right, so without further ado, let's bring in our Wednesday regular, Miss UFO Jane, Texas UFO researcher, Jane Kyle. How you doing, my lady?
My worlds are colliding. Jess Rogge here.
Exactly. Well, happy to have you here, my lady. And of course, we're going to bring in our man of the hour just because he helped fill in a hole. And Jamarl Thomas is a big hole to fill because, the man loves the pontificate. So I was hoping for him to carry the last hour of the show. So pressure's on you, Zach.
All right. Yeah. Happy to be here, guys.
So Zach Cichy, dad, fiance, weirdo, and host and creator of Project Human FM. So thank you for being here, man, and stepping in and helping us out with the last hour. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Of course.
Okay, guys. So you found the video, rather.
Yeah. Should we?
Yeah. Let's
Zach
go ahead.
Or Jane have any?
Yeah. Let's see if Zach or Jane have any
Jess
thoughts on this. We'll talk about it. All right. Go ahead. Play it. Where do we got? Okay, here it is. So have you guys seen this?
Just
No.
Wait.
Probably.
Right.
In this, Jane? Oh, you'll love it.
Yeah, this is cool. I think we missed the very beginning of it. Play it one more time, rather. All right, just
Yeah, it's
I feel like this one starts right as the cow comes through, but I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the cow busts through the roof on this. It's definitely one of the more interesting things I've ever seen related to this thing. But here's the thing, right?
Where's it from?
I've only seen this video on Live Leak. I have no idea who uploaded this video. I've done zero research on this.
I've heard it came from a barn in South Dakota, but that's all I know about it.
That's all you know about it.
I have immediate questions.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm glad that you have immediate questions. Here's my first just eyeball thoughts on it. Anytime we hear about these things being taken up into a craft, when they're put back down, they don't come together in a full cow. They're usually missing things. And this thing was very much alive and moving and looked more than capable.
Yeah.
You thinking tornado?
My first reaction is that cow's dropping out of a my first reaction is there's a tornado going on right now. And if the cow's dropping down, I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's a good
classic
guess.
Helen Hunt tornado
I mean,
movie. There was a
Isn't
flying
that
cow, right? So that
but
checks
isn't
out.
that a thing though? Entire cars and
Yeah.
objects will be lifted and people whole and just
Here's
kinda
what I would
drop right
say.
back down.
Here would be my only fight back on tornadoes. Well, then why are the other
You
cows
gonna fight a
penned up?
tornado?
No, I'm with my fists. No, but my question would be then, well, what is that cow doing outside of its pen when the other ones are clearly inside?
I mean, it's so we're missing all the beginning part, but it looks like the storm's pretty much in progress, right?
Yeah, rather kill the volume on it, and we could just keep playing it over and over. But yeah, I mean, dude, this thing looks like it just comes in like a bat out of hell. It's crazy. But Zach, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
My first thought is that poor cow.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I guess I thought that too.
My second thought is this was randomly uploaded. You said live leak, something like that. We have no provenance for this video. You know, oftentimes people in the UFO community will say no video will ever convince anybody because everybody questions video. That is true in cases like this, where you have no provenance and you have really no story.
Right.
There's really no context. I don't know what this is. It could be staged.
This is our UFO video of the week, by the way.
Well, I'm not meaning to dump on it, but like, I mean, could be anything.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, here's one other thing I just noticed is, rather, I see you're about to say something. I think it's going to be the same thing I'm about to say. What are you going to say?
Yeah, probably the guy in the background.
Yeah. There's two people in the background with flashlights going and looking at this thing like, holy cow, what the hell just happened? Like they're running to this thing. I think if it's a tornado, I don't know if they'd be outside like that, but I could be wrong. It definitely seems kind of windy in there, but damn, that thing came in violent. It bent that pole, dude. Like that's metal.
Is this supposed to be like the UAP has dropped this cow back?
That's like the rumor, right? That's like the theory is like it was clearly in the sky, right? Because it dropped through, so it had to have been picked up by something. And why would a helicopter pick up a cow? So A plus B equals Z, as things normally go on the internet.
Not enough information there. If I had obviously, number one issue is that this is not long enough. We don't see what happened in the moments before, which would probably tell us everything we need to know. But we don't have any context for this at all. So there's really nothing at all I can say about it, and especially with no provenance. No.
Can we all agree that it is not CGI?
I don't think this is set up or CGI. I'm trying to Google it right now for some context. I feel like this is maybe a real clip, but we need the before.
It feels like a real clip too. There's definitely another one floating around where it gives you at least 10 or 15 seconds before this thing just bursts through the roof. But at all the farms I've been to, I've never seen cows on a second floor of anything. So how a cow got up on a tin roof of something in the first place would just be very, very strange. It's just a weird video. The video is weird. Let's just end it there, right? But
let me tell you this, Lou. I'm gonna tell you this, please. I just Googled cows on a roof, and apparently
it happens all the time.
It's all the time.
Okay, see, there you go.
It's pretty normal for how many pictures I see.
Fair enough. I guess it's something I just never heard of or Googled. So thank you for checking.
We're all learning.
We're all learning. Tune in Monday, Wednesday, Friday here at 4:00 PST. Okay, so G West with a $5 donation. It says, my guess is that the cow got on the roof somehow, maybe some hay beds or something, and dropped through at a weak point. seems reasonable. I can't argue there.
No,
I will say that
aliens.
even more terrifying
Aliens.
than a falcon coming down at you, it would be a cow diving down at you like that.
Dude, that cow hit that pole with some force. That thing was moving. Poor cow. That's true. But then again, the end for that cow is probably a lot worse than that. God knows what kind of farm that is. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway,
bigger conversation.
It's a much bigger conversation that we just don't have time for. Bottled water with a $10 donation. This video is new to me, but that area isn't prone to tornadoes. Trust me, in 4 weeks, I will be in a tornado valley. This is a very interesting video. By the way, hi, Zach and Jane.
Hi.
Okay, so Zach, I was curious, and this is sort of why I wanted Jamaro here, but Jamaro couldn't be here, so we had to take you. I'm kidding. No, we love you, dude.
Yeah, I got you.
We love you. But I am curious because I haven't talked to you yet. What do you think about these bills that are being floated around now, HR 4350 and S 2610? Any thoughts on them when you read them?
My thought is this is a natural evolution of what we've already seen, which is very interesting to me because, again, this is not cold water. I had a whole tweet thread about this, but basically, my thoughts are here the government is continuing to fan these flames. They are not throwing cold water on this. We have elected representatives apparently continuing to use the UAP acronym. This is publicly available information that they're putting out there that they're going to set up this UAP that they want to. It hasn't been passed yet, but they want to set up this UAP office. It's like, okay, that's interesting. It's an evolution of what we've already seen from the Senate Intelligence Community Committee, the UAP Task Force, the UAP report that came out, right? And it's not cold water. And you would expect at this stage, frankly, most people I think would expect that there would be some cold water thrown on this entire issue at this point from the government, and we're not getting that. We're getting the exact opposite. When you say cold water, do you mean nip this conversation in the butt? Yeah. I often try to think from the skeptic point of view. I want to think from the perspective that this is all crap and that there's nothing to any of it. It's like, okay, cool. Explain this though. What's going on? And nobody has a coherent answer for what that is. Why is it in the public interest at all, or in our representatives' interest to continue fanning and perpetuating this at this time in particular? Unless if there's something to it. Right. That's kind of where I come at it from. Any version of the truth here seems kind of bad, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because it's like they're slowly disclosing information about something that they really should have already told us about, or it's something else and it's like compartmentalization, being confused. One department doesn't know what the other department is doing, kind of thing, and so now it's this UAP thing, and somewhere in the government, someone actually knows what's going on, but we're spending all this money investigating something that we have more data about somewhere else. It's deeply confusing, right? And it's very interesting, and I just think it's fascinating that this is not cold water.
Jane, what do you think?
I like that analogy, but that's not what I was expecting. So this feels very much normal now, and just the beginning of many, reports and conversations and news articles. And I don't think any cat is going back in any bag, and I don't think this process would have been started if there wasn't already an end game in mind. And I think because this has been a compartmentalized topic, it is really easy to pass the buck and to put people, up and, press conferences and stuff talking about this who don't know everything, who can play ignorant and, are firsthand witnesses, who can be genuine with us and help disclose this, while some people have passed on who did know more, at this point in time. So I think the timing is there's just less and less people that have that legacy, but it's always there. And I don't think people should forget about it. And I do want to just say about the reports is there was, I know he was a controversial figure, but he threw in some interesting little nuggets for us. Was Luis Elizondo's attorney, Danny Sheehan, who mentioned, what was it called? The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. And that is in the report as wanting to get data from that agency, and compare it. Not necessarily directly related to the UAP, but that's where Danny Sheehan said the Roswell stuff was. So just kind of circling back, why might they want, some more data? But yeah.
What, Jess? I saw you shaking your head yes to that. Did you have a follow up on it?
No, I was just going to agree with Jane, and I think the end of the compartmentalization is a big thing. And the communication between the different departments is going to make a big difference.
Is it the end of the compartmentalization?
Well, at least for the UAP project. I mean, at least in the data type of arena, we're not talking about the government overall.
Okay.
Well, it does seem like with this bill, Zach, and maybe I'm crazy, but if it passes into law, depending on the verbiage that we get, and from what I understand, I think it might be too late to amend any of the verbiage on there. I think actually yesterday was the last day to do it. Right. So unfortunately, there's no efforts for us on our side to try and convince, for example, I would love to see a public version of the reports that we're going to get, depending on what bill passes or what verbiage we get in the bill. But it does seem like it's going to fix the issue of what Lou Elizondo was saying, where the information goes from A, B, C, D, and then for whatever reason at this step it gets held up because they don't want to pass it on to the big boss, and because of that it's an issue of national security. They're avoiding a problem because it's not kosher to talk about in this setting when it's an actual issue. And so I think the bill's wording takes care of that. That traffic jam, as what I'll label it. It's a jam of information that is not getting to where it's supposed to get. And it seems like if this office is created, all of the information goes to this office and then it's disseminated to Congress and the senators. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, it's this is all bad news for skeptics, right? Because how do you explain what's going on here? How do you explain it? Again, I just, as a thought experiment, I generally try, and also just to be responsible for how I talk about this topic, I actually try to come at it from the skeptical position. And I'm having a hard time understanding what you do with this if you're Mick West. It's like, okay, any day now, someone is going to come out and say, Lou Elizondo's full of crap. And all of this other stuff, like, yeah, we're talking about aliens and whatever. No. We're going to reel this back a little bit. It's actually drones, it's glitches, it's this, it's that. Again, I think it's important to underscore this point because I think normally under previous historical circumstances, that's exactly what we would have gotten. And I think that this continuance of... they're trying to now establish this UAP office, a permanent UAP office, and no representatives coming in and saying, hey, yeah, there's nothing to this, it's just drones and it's just glitches. No representatives are doing that.
Yeah.
That's for skeptics out there, I wonder, like, how I hope to talk to Mick West about this soon.
Yeah, no, I
want to know.
Well, he might be listening.
They're gonna know how it feels to be like the UFO group did for so long, constantly at odds with what the government's saying. So now the skeptic that was in lockstep with all the, it's a weather balloon, is now going to be saying things that are against. But I think that's okay, though, and I think that's necessary. And so I think if you have like an open mind about it, you might have just years of really fun reports and videos and photos to help analyze and keep people grounded, because and I think that Mick West makes disclosure possible for the government, because if you didn't have that anchor, I mean, we would all just be like floating like into the clouds, right?
Yeah, and I'd say that, bad news for skeptics is probably the wrong way to frame it, right? I think that any information out there is good news for everyone. I don't think Mick West would be disappointed by anything the government's saying in these new reports or these new bills.
I think there'd be a little disappointment. I mean, I could tell you his book wouldn't be selling anymore. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'll even admit this. If I turn out to be 100% wrong on what I think this is, it's going to hurt a little bit. But I also can fall back on the fact that whatever it is going to be a crazy story to talk about. And it will be a paradigm shift for humanity, because if the technology exists and it's US made, that's huge. If it's foreign made, that's huge as well. So there's no lose from our aspect, where I think if you're Mick West and you've painted yourself into, I don't want to call it a lonely corner, but eventually it's going to be a very lonely corner. I'm going to be there for Mick West to help him hop out of the corner, because we're going to need him on this side of the fence when he does eventually come over. But to say that it won't irk him a little bit.
Will it be a lonely corner though? I mean, I would say most people still are not really aware of UFOs, right?
But being aware and being a skeptic of UFOs.
But he might have more company, and this really reaches, like a culmination, like in the media, and becomes really important. People could freak out about it. That's probably not the desire.
Yeah.
Well,
real quick, Gary Voorhees says, and he's right, if either passes into law, especially as written right now, the only people on the committee will ever see it. So only senators and congressmen on select committees will see the reports. There's no public versions, but they will absolutely talk among themselves about it to people outside of the committee as well, which is true. This is how we get leaks. This is how we get people talking about things.
Yes, and I almost wonder, if you can read into some of the wording of these new bills and get some insight into what the classified report might have contained, right? When they talk about captured and recovered materials, is that a thread that they are trying to, continue on that was introduced in the classified briefings? My guess would be yes. And there might be some other kind of tidbits, what they ask for after the next reports and what they keep on asking for and putting into the bills, some ways kind of tips their hand into what they've been seeing. But I would love the public report. I think that would be great.
This itself is not some deep black thing. They are publicly saying we would like to establish a UAP office. And that's a thing that's going to go forward. I mean, that to me is that's the fascination point to me. Again, no one is coming around to say otherwise,
right?
Or to say that actually maybe the UAP acronym isn't the best way to describe this, right? Because UFO and UAP are now interchangeable. They know that.
Yeah.
And if you're one of our representatives and you truly feel that, saying aliens or interdimensional whatevers or whatever, if you think that that's like a bridge too far, I feel like if I were a representative, I'd want to clear that up. The fact that nobody's not clearing that up is the most disturbing sort of aspect.
The silence sort of speaks volumes a little bit.
And I say, welcome to the Thunderdome, Mick, right?
Yeah. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Right?
I just picture you like Tina Turner with shoulder pads and huge hoop earrings yelling, welcome to the Thunderdome.
Well, and I say that because, Mick West can't figure out the Nimitz incident. He can't, there's a number of these incidents now that he increasingly can't figure out what the hell is going on. And he especially can't figure out, why isn't the government coming to back what I'm saying?
Right.
And increasingly, he's going down his own conspiratorial rabbit holes. He is now saying, well, maybe it could have been a compartmentalized test and people didn't know about it, right? Like, he's gone down these avenues now, and it's like, hey, welcome, Mick.
That's how we feel. Yeah.
Because now, in order to explain what is happening, you have to go down some level of a conspiratorial rabbit hole, right? Is there any version of this that isn't a conspiracy?
No, that's a fair point. Rather, I know you got something to say. I can see it all over your face.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it was just, alien interdimensional beings that we can't figure out, I mean, that's not a conspiracy. That's just something that happens.
Come
right?
on, rather. That's yes, that's a conspiracy.
It's a
because if they
conspiracy,
have any
yeah.
information about that, they absolutely don't want that information to be public, especially anything that could be deemed a potential threat, which is another aspect of this that I find fascinating. Why is the government openly talking about anything that's a potential threat? Generally, that kind of intelligence would just be behind a black wall somewhere, and we would never know most of the time, right?
I would guess that if we are showing other foreign nations technology that we think could be alien,
right?
We would not show all of our cards. So the guess would be we have much more compelling evidence and than what we are showing.
Right. Yeah.
I
want to see the more compelling evidence, right? Like I want to see
me too.
I want to see these videos like Zondo's talking about, that Tom DeLonge is talking about, 40 minutes, 26 minutes. We need to see these videos ultimately, because until we see the videos, until we get the data, until we get that information out in front of the scientific community, we are all just stabbing and guessing in the dark and coming up with God knows what, choose your own adventure narrative to try to fit this shit together.
Right.
And that's actually, I see that part of it as dangerous too. Like us even speculating as to what's going on could cause someone somewhere to think God knows what, write some cult book, getting followers. There's all sorts of knock-on effects that can come out of the vagueness of the situation. So I sincerely, truly hope that no matter what happens, I hope that they start being more transparent, because they must appreciate the gravity of what it means if they are not, right? And if they allow people to go down these rabbit holes, and the only people they're telling them, what to believe or what to think are like the Stephen Greers of the world,
right.
or I'm not going to name any other names, right? We'll just pick on Stephen.
He's a fun target. What do you got, Ryder?
I mean, well, it's not the government's role to tell us what to think, right? And I think that when you say conspiracy, that's, language does matter in this. And I think that that's a pretty strong word. That implies that there's kind of some deceit and some, something like that. It implies that it's not just we have some ambiguous photos that we can't show you because it would give away means and methods. I don't think that that's been shown at all. I still think that it's very possible that the government, maybe they have some more information, but they literally can't make heads or tails of that information.
I think there's deceit by default here, right? So either, to me, this is actually a little bit black and white. I know the whole thing is complicated, right? But it's a little black and white in that either they have information, either they have data on something that's totally anomalous that they can't explain, and it's not Russia, it's not China, it's not us, blah, 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 blah. If they have something that concretely is anomalous and showed up multiple times, that's actually fairly not complicated. That would mean, hey, something weird is going on. We can't explain what it is. It's outside the bounds of our ability to explain. It's outside the bounds of the scientists' ability to explain. That's pretty straightforward. No, am I? Crazy?
And that they've told us that that's the case, right? Isn't that what the preliminary report says?
Right. Have they though?
Yeah. There are 22 reports on the 18 incidents since 2019 that are anomalous, right?
Right. Yeah, but we don't have that data. They've told us that the data is there. They've told us that there is information that says that these things can't be explained. But I haven't seen it. Mick West hasn't seen it. Michio Kaku hasn't seen it. Avi Loeb hasn't seen it. None of these people have seen it. None of us have seen it. They're telling us that the data is there. And look, we don't trust, people inherently don't just trust what the government says. Right. Whether we're talking about, 9/11 or we're talking about COVID, whatever, people don't just inherently trust the government. The government needs to actually extend a hand here and give us something. If they want us to believe that we ruled out, it's not Russia, it's not China, it's not us, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, fine. Show us the damn video.
Now. Yeah. So real quick, Jess has got to go because she's got a show that she's doing.
I got a show at 6 p.m. So I got to get going. So I can
done here.
Yeah.
So as soon as we're done here, you guys go check out Jess's show. Please, Jess, tell everyone where they can find your show when we're done here.
Yeah, you guys can head over to the fringe.fm, and I'm going to be live at 6 p.m. Pacific. So I want to thank, Lou, I want to thank Ratherby. Thank you, Jane, so much. And nice to meet you, Zach. I'm so sorry. Zach, I hope to, hang out with you guys all again soon.
Oh, absolutely.
And, thank you so much. I had a wonderful time.
The pleasure was ours. And real quick, what's tonight's topic?
Tonight's topic is media control. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Noam Chomsky book and then talk about some current events.
Love it. Awesome. All right, my lady. We'll go have some dinner and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ciao.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Well, here's the thing. Gary Voorhees, first of all, thank you for the $20 donation. Truly, truly appreciate it. And then we had another $5 donation from G West. At times, I think Mick West thinks it's real, but he's asking for the good stuff to be released, just like all of us want. Totally fair. I think that's accurate. And then there was another $10 donation here that I don't want to miss before it goes away. Hold on one second, guys. I'm looking for it. There it is. Artisan Tony, which, by the way, I'm going to be on a show Thursday, I think at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So come check it out. Artisan Tony writes with a $10 donation. I would suggest turning your focus from Mick West to organizing private venture regarding the phenomena. If you're going to try and rely on government, you will ultimately be disappointed. And this is what Gary Voorhees and UAPX and Javi Loeb and all of these private entities are doing. The sky is not classified. Anybody is allowed to look at the sky with instruments and collect data, and that's what they're doing. But what I will say is this is going to come from our government. I hate to break this to everybody, but this is not, I personally don't think, and I hope I'm wrong because that means we'll get it sooner, but I don't think it's going to come. Part of it's going to come from private entities, but I think the government's going to take the thunder on this one because they have the information. And
I think will be a group effort. It'll be a group effort. I agree, but I think the military is going to have the best data out of all of them, just because they have the instruments in the right spot to do so. The most convincing. Without a doubt. That's going to be the stuff that convinces a Michio Kaku and a Neil deGrasse Tyson and so on and so on and so on. But the beautiful thing is about UAPX and the Galileo projects is that these guys will already be in full stride by the time this information starts coming out. So they'll be able to decipher it quickly and analyze it so people can understand it as best they can. But I will say this, even if the bill passes with no public reports, which I think is the way it's going to be, we're going to get a year of either 90-day or both 90-day and quarterly reports. According to Lou, we're getting both. So that means 5 reports on UAP in 1 year. I think the next bill that comes up this time next year is going to have a public report itemized section in it. Because there's no way that you're going to get 5 reports on UAP within these intelligence communities. And just like Gary Voorhees just said, the only people who are going to see this are the people in the communities. But when they get done getting briefed on this, they're going to start talking to other senators, and other senators are going to get curious. And those stories are going to leak to the public, and people are going to be talking about this. Because I can promise you, every quarter, the media is going to be talking about this classified report. They're going to be talking about it because this is going to be a big story come February when they realize, oh my God, there's another UFO report coming. The story's going to get bigger and bigger.
It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Acting like, December 2017, like that was the biggest thing. And then the UAP report was the best. No, it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Right. But my point is with that, a public report will come. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. So I'm not worried, even if we don't get the public option, as I guess we'll call it, this bill, I think it'll definitely be written into the next one. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I really don't. But what were you going to say, rather?
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. After 4 classified reports and fielding questions from the reporters and everything, not being able to say something, these
Right.
congressmen are going to want to be able to tell
Talk
the
about
public something. And
Yeah.
I think that they'll push for a public report.
I think you're right. I mean, what do you think, Zach? Do you think we I mean, I don't think it's real. I don't think it's realistic. I know that sucks. Nobody wants to hear that they have to wait another year for this. Actually, year in 4 or 5 months. But that's just the way it's gonna be. It's gonna be that way. Like, unfortunately, this is just the boat we're sitting in. But I'm hopeful that next year, with these reports, we're gonna get. Something's going to leak. Something's going to come surface to the bubble to the top. I think wouldn't shock me if it comes around the same time that Lou Elizondo's book might be published. You know, these things tend to happen around the same time, but what are your thoughts?
Let me ask you something. How far back do you think the phenomenon goes, Lou?
From a military perspective? Or
just how well, yeah, from a military perspective, from military involvement, how long do you think it goes back?
I think it goes back as early as World War II, at least.
Right.
At least. and I think that these committees, these intelligence committees, are going to start being briefed on the last 70, 80 years of history.
Sure.
And then on top of that, they're going to get the newest information as to what's happening today. But it's a tough question, because if it's been happening for 70 years, then it's probably been going on much longer than that.
I mean, the immediate obvious follow-up question would be, why now then? So they successfully. So you just said that you think that it's been going on for something like 70, 80 years, something like that, right? I agree, by the way. But how did they do that? How did they keep it secret for this long? And then
I don't think they did keep it secret.
Well, I mean, that's certainly another part of it. But then I guess this is the biggest question for me. Why now? And especially why now when there was no public pressure? Where is the pressure coming from?
Here's my guess, if I can go first, unless somebody's got something real hot. I think this technology has been cracked on some level by the US government. I think we have something that moves like this. I'm convinced of that. I don't put anything past the human ingenuity. I really do. I really think we've figured out some sort of craft that can move without centrifugal force, that lets you travel through air, space, and ocean at the exact same speeds. And I think that they're going to start using this toy in the next 5 to 15 years. I think we're going to start seeing things fly and move like this.
Why do you need disclosure about UAP in order to create runway for that?
I think it gives them a window, a buffer to still use it as a way to cover tech.
Okay.
You know, and then once that window fades away, then they'll be like, okay, here it is, just like they did with the stealth fighter, the stealth bomber. Like, here's this plane you can't see.
So, like, if we were to go down the Corso rabbit hole and say that some technology over time has been like the result of seeded UFO crashed stuff, right? Why not just do that again? Why not just keep on making it look like, oh, look, we discovered this really
because
cool thing.
I think foreign governments are going to start having the same tech.
Okay.
That's why. I think once this hits, because it's just that I'm completely speculating here.
No, this is great.
But I don't think the technology is as exotic as people might think it is. I think it might be a lot simpler. Yeah. Yeah. No. But what I'm saying is I think we could reach it with technology that exists today is my theory. And because of that, you're going to start seeing these things possibly show up in wars, battlefields over certain areas or reports of it. And we may even see adversaries have a version of it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why. I think because if China pops one over Times Square, you know, and we know it's China, we could say there's no need to panic. It's one of our adversaries. Here's the tech. By the way, here we've been working on this for a long time. And this UFO story we've been using to sort of cover up this tech. And then the question becomes, well, where did we get the tech from? Did we come up with it ourselves? Was this something we found? You know, that's where I think the conversation will then go. But it will not shock me at all if the United States sees that this tech is something that's going to be publicly seen a lot within the next 15 years, and that our adversaries are also developing. There might even be closer on our tails than we would like when it comes to tech like this. And so we might as well start talking about it now and get people used to the idea that this is real stuff. Because if you just turn the lights on tomorrow and say, yep, China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia all have this tech, but you know, it's this, you know, crazy. I mean, if it is very difficult to explain, they need the time. Like they need the runway to operate because it's a huge jumbo jet that needs a lot of runway.
But why? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we keep saying why now, but I think this has been going on for the last 70 years. I mean, we had Project Blue Book, we had Project Sign and Project Grudge before that. Like, I think that this has been,
aren't those a little different, Jane? Those projects?
But it's just a progression of something that started. I don't think that this is like suddenly this new thing. I really do feel that whether we found direct evidence or indirect evidence of ETs, our government put together a plan, realized that it would be inevitable that we would come into contact, if we hadn't already, and put in to try to keep us walking down the rabbit hole for as long as possible, because there wasn't probably, is kind of like the well-intentioned side are the people that just looking out for us, see the national security threat, want to keep passing the buck. But I also think as people pass, you know, from Earth to the next realm, there's less people to blame for that secret. And so it becomes easier and easier for every new generation to kind of play dumb genuinely. And it becomes a new conversation. Why now? But I don't think that this is a suddenly new conversation. I do believe this started in Roswell. The secrecy is so well documented that
Can I push back a little bit on that?
Go for it.
Well, but there was no public pressure. So there was no impetus. There was no reason on a public stage for them to decide to, hey, let's start pushing this in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and so on and so forth. This keeps getting pushed and pushed. Where is the pressure coming from for them? So, I mean, you're describing secrecy that goes back 70 years, right? I don't see
people going to space, you know, private space. So I think that's a big deal, you know, kind of like what Luis is saying.
Is it Elon Musk asking too many questions? Is it private aerospace asking? Where is the pressure point? I guess
NASA announcing, you know, alien life soon, wanting all, you know, the money to keep exploring space. So like if alien life is real, we have to say that we have to announce it at some point to move forward, right? Like in all these different like organizations, right? So I don't know if it's coming from the public, to be fair, besides you know, what Luis is doing here.
Well, it might just be kind of a sign of the times. You know, you look at the Cold War, when most of these UFO programs were kind of enacted, and that was a completely different climate. And it's kind of understandable why they might keep things in the sky secret during that atmosphere. And, you know, the Cold War ended about 30 years ago, but it doesn't seem that unreasonable to me that it just takes government 30 years to kind of let go of that old way of thinking. And now there's some new people that are saying, hey, there's these people should know about this, and let's put it, make it be public. And I think those people are Chris,
but at the same time, we're being told that there's a new Cold War brewing between us and China. I don't know that. I just don't know if I buy it. I don't know. None of that really makes any sense. No version of this so far, and I think it's okay. By the way, it's okay if it doesn't make sense, guys. Like none of us have figured this out or cracked the puzzle. I keep asking these questions because I think it's important to keep this in mind, that there was no like major public pressure to get this out there, and for some reason our representatives seem to be pushing it anyway. And I guess the reason where my frustration comes from is like I look at how the media is covering this, and I see this is where I see a lack. It's like, why aren't you guys just asking the most obvious questions? Like, why are you guys doing this? You have no data that you're putting in front of us. There's no real reason for us to buy what you're saying.
Well, it could be a comment. Like I said, it could be a combination of things. One of which being things like the Galileo project and UAPX are starting to look at the sky with really great equipment because the equipment is more reasonable to buy now.
Well,
they can foresee this happening, because I think you're 100% right. As much as I love the big phone home, as successful as I think it was, it's not the Million Man March. You know, it's not people showing up in front of Congress demanding truth. Like, again, nobody's lost a mother because they don't have enough UAP information. You know, so the impetus, there's no real public pressure on senators or congressmen to talk about this whatsoever. So why? Who is pressuring this? Why are we
started before 2017. So what is happening now was very specifically, kick-started, before 2017. So if we want to look at when it was before the election. So,
but even before,
but it's not like, I agree with what Zach's saying in that I don't feel that it's like this organic thing where suddenly people are waking up and want to know the truth. And so they're having to show their cards. I do feel that I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of this meticulous effort over a long period of time. And I think these are the right questions to ask. It's like, who is behind it? And so I looked to the election and, NASA talking about life on Mars and all that. Don't have the answers, but
I think go for it, rather.
If Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon didn't come out and the New York Times article wasn't written in 2017, I don't think any of this happens. I think that this is the reason this happens is because of those people. Yeah. And I think that there was a huge impact. It really changed the climate, I think, back then.
I mean, Lou Elizondo's pissed off his coworkers. Like, they do not like him. He was essentially forced to resign because his superiors would not follow protocol. And he had to go around his superiors over their heads. It's like telling on your boss to his boss. Yeah. After going over and over and over again to them and constantly being denied, and he's just like, I'm fed up. This is bullshit. Like our generals and people who make the decisions need to know about this. They need to know that this is a real thing. And I think Rather's right. Like, I think parts of this have been happening for a long, long time, but without that 2017 conference and that New York Times article and those 3 videos, I don't think we have 2 bills sitting on the floor right now waiting to get voted on that are talking about giving us 5 UFO reports a year. Yeah. Like, I just don't think it's happening.
We're asking why, right? So we're asking. So we have to look like what happened before. Right. What happened before that New York Times article? What happened before those Pentagon videos were released? Right. So it wasn't like, why did that happen? Was it just because Christopher Mellon felt like coming forward and luckily his story got out? I don't think that I would agree with that. I think that there was a support around what he was saying at that time.
I think there was able to fly. Little bit of support.
Was able to fly,
I don't know. I don't know how much support he got, because when we talked to DJ, who was a former AC-130 specialist, and he talks about the pension that Lou Elizondo forego to tell this story. It was like the highest level of pension where he's going to make the most money and be the most comfortable in retirement, but he elected not to do it, to pursue this, to do this. Like, that's a risk. And that, I mean, it's just, I see what Zach's saying and I see what you're saying, Jane. I think Lou Elizondo was a part of the equation that the powers that be had no idea was coming. I really don't. I think he warned them. He told them he was going to do this, and they had a proper heads up. And that's the difference between him and say an Edward Snowden, is he gave the authority, the proper people, enough warning time to plan and react to this. but I don't think I don't think there was a lot of his colleagues going, yeah, go get him, Lou. You got it. Like, I don't think that was going on. I really don't. I think he's ostracized himself in a lot of ways. Unless they served with him directly, like shoulder to shoulder. I don't know if there was a ton of support from his colleagues about this stuff. But let me get to these donations real quick. From Oliver Dro. Everyone should immediately go watch Red Panda Koala's superb videos, especially the Tom DeLonge Part 2, The Terrifying Truth, and Why Disclosure Now are both answered there. Also, his videos are awesome. I have not seen this video. I see you shaking your head.
I totally agree with Oliver here. Red Panda Koala has the best breakdowns of like the Tom DeLonge timeline that I have seen on the internet.
I got to go check that out. I don't think I've seen that.
Totally. I'll send you a link. They're
please do.
Great videos. Yeah.
He also had another $5 donation. Also, please share that article on the death of cow on Utah. Rather, I'm getting poor here. The exchange rate to Brazilian money is 1 to 5 to $1.
Oh, just at me too. You don't need a super chat every time you run donation.
Just at rather. But money, we appreciate it, dude. We truly appreciate it, man. Yeah, we know that exchange rate's not very good.
I'll put it in a chat because he did link me to an interesting article about the cattle mutilations at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, please do.
Sorry.
Wait, no. I wanted to say hi to Ryan Sprague here real quick. Whatever happened to that UFO pack or whatever that crap was? The UFO pack.
Yeah. Political Action Committee.
Oh, the political. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the UFO Political Action Committee. Actually, our producer Alex is listening to the show. Maybe he could tell us what happened to them. He's been messaging me through the whole show. Did you have a super chat there from G West?
One from earlier. Zach touched base on this. It's weird that no one in Congress or the Senate are putting their foot down and saying this is a waste of time.
Well, just wait till Rand Paul gets. I mean, we still. There's time. There's time. It's only September. I promise you, Rand Paul is going to say something about this. There's no doubt in my mind.
Watch him blow your
outside
mind.
Of that,
watch him blow your mind and show total support and be like, "Yeah, the UFO thing. That's the thing. We're not wasting money there.
I totally government's for."
Let me. You know what? Now that we're talking about Rand, let me see what committees he serves on because pretty sure he's on at least one intelligence committee.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Everyone that I've expected to throw cold water on this has not. Right. Right. And that's why I keep underscoring that point. And that's why that is the most interesting thing about everything playing out. They could have walked away from this at any point. They could have, multiple of these people could have said, come on, UFOs, guys, like, come on. No, they're like, no, let's make a UAP task force. Let's do a report. Now let's have a permanent office. What the
on both sides of the aisle too.
Going on here. And that's where journalists should be aiming their damn sights. It's like, what are you doing? No. Stop the articles, the headlines in New York Times where they're like, well, they're not denying, that it could be aliens. No. Ask the damn questions, right? Like, get to the bottom of like, what the hell are they doing in the middle of a pandemic, right? Right. That like, really, this stuff is going on at all? It's insane. And again, no public pressure. I just think it adds credibility to the entire situation. Like, I'm not making this point just to, just to ask questions and try to like blow it all up. I'm asking these questions because it's the thing that adds the most credibility to the situation. The fact that there is no damn pushback. What have these people seen? Right.
No, it's a great question. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Because like, I think it would be very easy, although Jazz Shaw says that this is not going to be a hill that a senator or congressman dies on, because if they go and start railing against the National Defense Authorization Act bill, they're going to be looked at as, oh, you don't support the military. Yeah. Like you're making this small little argument on this one part of a huge bill. Like, nobody cares, dude. Like, we're doing this. And even if you did get one senator, let's say Rand Paul does decide this is the hill he's going to die on from a budget perspective. he's going to look like an idiot. As crazy as that side, 2021, he's going to look like a jerk yelling at.
I don't know, though. Like, his base would probably eat it all up.
I don't know, man. I think his base is just as curious as we are. Like, again, it's a bipartisan issue, man. UFOs, like, you're going to tell your constituency, I don't want to learn more about this. I don't want to learn more about incursions over nuclear facilities. I don't know. But let's see. Okay, so Rand Paul serves on the Committee of Foreign Relations, the Committee of Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, and the Committee on Small Business Entrepreneurship. So the only committee that he serves on that would remotely be close to covering this would be the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, because he's on the Emerging Threats Oversight and Spending Oversight Committee. Subcommittee, that is, and then he's also on the permanent subcommittee on investigations. So really the only one he would be sitting on and I don't know how much the Threats and Spending Oversight Committee is looking at this. I think he'd look at it from a spending perspective, but I don't think any of these committees are getting briefed with a report. And so when Rand Paul gets on his high horse and starts yelling about how this is a waste of money, all of his cohorts, Republican and Democrat, are going to be like, Rand, sit down. You're out of your league. You're not on these committees. We need to look at this. I think what would happen personally behind the scenes, because there are just go to our new congressman friend Tim Burchett's page. Like, he's talking about some of the things that are in the new infrastructure bill, and they're silly. Like, how did this get into an infrastructure bill? And so from that aspect, you could sit there and criticize that. Whereas with a defense bill, it's a little more difficult to have that position, because at the end of the day, you're going to be looked at as, oh, well, you don't support the military. And so that's why I think there's a really, really high confidence from everyone who's looking at this that this is going to go through. It's going to be in the bill. And Joe Biden's going to sign it. It's going to be a law next year. It's just how much information will the public get next year is hard to. It's really hard to say. It's definitely not going to be in a report. That is for sure.
I want to be clear that I think that this is like, this being my interest area, I think this is all good news. I just don't know what it is. I just don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm dealing with here. And it ultimately comes down to the lack of data, the lack of information being disclosed. This would be easier for me to deal with if they were like releasing some video, something other than the Nimitz incident, or the 3 videos that we've seen,
or just another angle of one of the other 3 videos would be
just show us
huge.
Something. Just show us something, and give us like the radar tracks with the redacted sources and methods or whatever. There's a million ways to get the data out there.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Elizondo has said, that you only need like one, piece of information, and he's been very, very cagey about like what that is. Tell us. Tell us already.
Well,
we need to know.
Let me ask you guys this though, real quick. What would you rather have? Would you rather have the 23-minute video, or would you rather have a second angle of the gimbal, or the go fast, or the tic tac? I'll start with you, rather, because both Jane and Zach are kind of like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah,
I can tell you my answer
on the 23-minute video. So I'd rather see another angle of the gimbal or one of the existing videos.
Yeah. Jane, what do you think?
I think I personally want to see the 23-minute one, but I think as far as impact, another angle of, because gimbal, everybody knows about it already. So yeah, that would be a good one.
I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't care. So I want to know, I want the good stuff. I don't. Yeah. Which one has the good stuff?
Well, 2 angles is good stuff.
So
2 angles is what Mick West is looking for. So that's kind of what I'm trying to convince Mick, Neil, and Mitchu. I don't know why I'm throwing a fucking video game programmer in there with Neil and Kaku, but I am.
Convinced.
What?
I think you're right.
ultimately, I just want to know. Okay, Mark Warner and Marco Rubio. What have they seen? What video have they seen? What data have they seen? What are they privy to?
I think they've seen that picture of the triangle coming out of the water. I mean, that's my guess.
Yeah, probably, right? They've probably seen all sorts of stuff. That's why they are perpetuating this issue, and they seem to think this is really important. But ultimately, I, as an American citizen, have absolutely no clue, none. How seriously should I take this? Or is this a game that you're playing? Because right now it feels like a game. It feels like a game between people with power, with the information, and the people that have no information, the people with no power.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I'm going to push back, and then we got to end the show on the game part, and that is, if this is a game, people are going to go to jail because this is a game that you're playing with fire. You've gotten the Inspector General involved. You've gotten the highest level of governments involved in this game. This game, Lou Elizondo at the very least should go to jail if he's lying. And I love the guy to death, but if this is a game, he should go to jail.
And I don't think
he's lied. I don't think so either, and that's why I'm gonna believe him and give. And here's the thing, man. People want to throw this guy under the bus all the time.
But hold on, he could be telling the truth, and it could still be a game. What I mean by game is that there are people with information and there are people with no information, and that itself is a kind of game. And that's what I don't mean that it's all pretend. Right. I mean that the game is, we don't know what the game is. That's the problem.
But what I'm saying is if you're playing a game, it's a really, really dangerous game to bring in an investigation and hire an attorney.
But that's the name of the game. I mean, it's literally, we're talking about the government giving us information they haven't been given us before. So, I mean, you can't really get around it. I am all for forgiveness and amnesty to some degree, and I think we have to have more conversations like Big Phone Home, like you did, Luis, where we talk to military people, and I think we're going to have to get there as a society.
No, I think we'll get there. I understand what you're saying. I think I don't know if it's a game as more of it's a strategy. It feels like more of a strategy than it does a game. It feels like this is something that has been put in a playbook, and it's like, okay, we've hit November. Okay, let's hit them with the bills. This is like, I think Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo have a process that they want to go through.
It may be a strategy for them, but for us, we are unwilling participants that are being forced to play their game.
We have to have faith. We have to have faith in them, It's a lot.
Wait, what'd you say, Jane?
We have to have faith in them, that they have our best interests, and so that is a lot to ask.
It is a lot to ask. And then what'd you say, Riley?
The game of life. I think that's just what it is.
Indeed, it is. By the Hasbro brothers. It's a new game coming out this fall. So you guys, thank you so much for being part of this panel. This was fun because look, it needs to be discussed from every single angle, and we have to put all options on the table here. But for me, until Lou Elizondo shows me that he's lied, just caught in a red hand lie, which he hasn't been. He hasn't been. And so until that happens, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to give him my trust, but tepidly, to very carefully and cautiously give him my trust. Because, look, this is our, intelligence community's the scariest parts of it, giving us this story. But hey, he could be that one in a million who actually is trying to do the right thing based off of what he's seen. And as far as I can tell, especially after interviewing his father, I'm going to go ahead and say that the dude is being honest with us. And so that's where I'm going to stand until proven otherwise.
I agree.
So with all of that, you guys, I cannot appreciate you enough. Before you go, Jane, Kyle, what are you working on and what is happening in your life? Tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, I know we saw Gary Voorhees in the chat.
Yeah,
Navy veteran, first-hand witness to Tic Tac, but he'll be on my YouTube live tomorrow, 5 Pacific, 7 Central, and I think he's on yours too, Luis's.
Yeah, he's coming on Friday. Yeah, so
that's
Gary Blaze is busy, baby. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy that Gary's popping around all these shows. We're getting more information. We're getting into a little bit more insight into UAPX and what they're doing there. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, super excited.
But tell everybody where they can find your channel. And
just search UFO Jane or type in Texas UFO sightings into the URL for YouTube.
You guys, I did forget one thing, and somebody just called me out here. I forgot our poll. We have a poll today.
What's the poll?
Okay, so the poll was, which bill would you like to see passed and made into law? S 2610, HR 4350, Section 1652. I want to see them combined, or please just no Jello with this bill. So with the lowest votes, nobody is interested in Bill S 2610, Section 345. Nobody wants to see that one. 4% of the vote went to that option. The second option with 19% was HR 4350, Section 1652. With 19% of the vote, people want to see that bill passed. And then with 20% of the vote, people said, please just no Jello with this bill. And then 57% of the vote said, I want to see them combined. They'd like to see the two bills, the wording of the two bills combined into one bill, which I think I would like to also see, but with a public option in there somewhere. Rather with his golf clap. So that was the poll today, you guys. What else did I forget? I think Johnny Zito on the line.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, poor Zito.
Is he on here now?
Yeah, I still have PTSD when he said that. I was like, oh my God, do we? We don't. No, he's not here today. Tommy Zito's not here. Okay, Jane, UFO Jane, Texas UFO researcher and friend of the show. We'll see you soon, my lady.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Always a pleasure. Zach Cichy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. ProjectHuman.fm. At Cichy on Twitter, ZCICHY. I'm
so happy now I could just hit you up and be like, dude, please come on my show.
Look,
we had somebody drop out.
It's a lot of fun. I'm happy to be here in place of Jamarl. I don't think I'm nearly even anywhere near his level, but
no way. No. You guys, well, the plan is to get both of you guys back together in a long form discussion. I just want to make that happen because that would be so much damn fun, either on your show or my show, or just do both, because I think it would be great.
I had him great content short on my show.
I know. Well, you had kids, right? Like kids issue.
I've been totally busy. There will be new episodes of the show soon, I promise.
Well, hey, you want to hear something fun? Yesterday was the first day I touched my Xbox Live in 6 months. Because Mike didn't have a show. I'm like, what do I do? There's no big phone home. Wait a second. I have free time. Yeah. I'm going to play some video games.
The Switch suddenly can use Bluetooth headphones. I don't know if you heard about that.
I saw that update.
My big news for this week is Switch can use
the Switch is too small for my big hands, man. Yeah. It doesn't work in my hands, but I'm glad you like it. All right, my man. Thank you so much for coming by and filling in last second. We truly appreciate it. Zach Cichy, everybody, Project Human. Go check him out. Friend of the show, lover of all things, and just a good human being. So, dude, we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, man. Bye.
Yep, peace. Rather be squidding.
Yeah, good show.
It's a lot harder when Michael's not here.
Yeah, big shoes to fill.
It's big shoes to fill, Michael. He's always got great questions. I'm always trying to think, well, what would Michael ask here? What would Michael ask? We miss you, Michael. It's only been 2 days and we miss you. Anyway, what's going Cloud Chambers tonight, yes?
Yeah, should be one posted late this evening. And I think it'll be interesting. You should go over to Rather Be Squidding and subscribe so you don't miss it.
Awesome. If you haven't checked out Rather's channel, go do so right now. Of course, his link is in the description below. Jess Rogge's channel is going live right now. It went live 6 minutes ago, so please get the hell out of here. Go watch her show. With all of that out of the way, I want to make sure you guys check out the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com. Purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the tunes that you hear on the show. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. I want to say thank you to the guests who came by. Jess Rogge, Zach Cichy, and Jane Kyle. Thank you all so damn much. What else? Oh, check out the iTunes and Spotify, you guys. Please do us a favor. Leave us a rate and review on the podcast. It goes a really long way. The podcast is blowing up. I don't know what is considered a lot of downloads for a month in a podcast, but we're almost to 5,000 downloads a month, and I think that's awesome. That's great, right? I don't know. I don't know a ton about podcasts, but it seems like people are like it, but we don't have a ton of rate and reviews. So please do us a favor. Spotify, iTunes, whichever, just leave us a rate and review. Check out the links below. You can check out our Patreon to support the show. Thank you everyone for the super chats today. All of these things go a very, very long way to helping sure the show looks good, sounds good, feels good, is funny, and also helps us do the show 4 days a week now because Mike's dropping the show, and we might be filling in Tuesday with something fun and special. Rather and I were talking pre-show about it. We're swirling around some ideas, but that Tuesday slot might not be filled until after our little week vacation, which, by the way, guys, will be the 20th to the 24th. We're going to be out that entire week. No Singularity Lab, no Unidentified Celebrity Review, unless something insanely huge happens, which if it does, I'll be here for you guys. We'll still do a show no matter what. I'm dedicated to that, but I think everybody here deserves a break. We've been putting in a lot of long hours, and nobody's getting paid. I get paid a little bit, but all the money that I'm getting paid gets put right back into the show. So until we become as big as Linda Moulton Howe or Stephen Greer, I'd love to pull in the Stephen Greer numbers, and then I could pay Rather and Michael, and then we could be here 5 days a week, which is the goal. But thank you. Who was that? Shredder. That's Mike's friend, Trevor Shredder. Wicked show. Thank you, Trevor Shredder. Appreciate it, buddy. If you guys want to learn how to play guitar, I've heard this channel's great. So go check them out. And that's it, you guys. Thank you all so damn much. The merch store. Somebody reminded me. Thank you, guys. Shop the merch. We've got a merch store, but all the links are in my link tree down below. Rather's drinking out of our cup. I've got a cup here too. The poster I got back here, I bought off the merch store. So we got a bunch of stuff over there. Go check it out. All right. We love you all, guys. Stay safe out there. Be good. I'm trying to find the commercial to play you guys out. Here we go. Peace. Thank you so much to all the Patreon members. And if you'd like your name included in the Patreon, please do us a favor and visit our Patreon link down below. And you can have your name added here with Mark Singer, Jared G, Matthew Riot, Colin Smith, Mo Ublick, Michelle de Guzman, Aaron Desario, Thomas Fessler, Rick Carlson, Jessica Jimenez Chung, TJ, Chad Smith, Carl Mann, Valis, James Woodger, Brian Drummond, Filippo Vannucci, MP, Mav, Jimmy Singer. Thank you all so very, very much. I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
I believe you're enjoying all this. Indeed, Captain. I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up!
Shh. Shh. Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.